We will continue now with the Dake annotated Bible, and we were in the book talking about the book of Jeremiah and the book that was before that, which is called Ezra. Now, you'll notice me using my magnifying glass now again to see this because this print is extremely small. But when we were in here, what was interesting, remember, it's in this section, it talks all about the Bible in many specific ways. Now, why would it pick this particular book to go into such detail about the Bible and not some other book? Well, what he does, before he talks about it, he says to actually go in this book to the chapter 4 and verse 8. And then after that, he puts the names of the Bible and all the details. So what we'll do now is go to chapter 4 in Ezra. So we'll have to go back and find chapter 4 and look for verse 8 and see what that says. Because this is what he takes for his segment on the Bible. And we will take a look at that. Now we'll look for verse 8 here. And what does verse 8 say? It says, Raymond, the chancellor of Shamali, the scribe, wrote a letter against Jerusalem in Axabernus, the king, in this sort. And then he says what the letter actually is. Now here he has all these notes about the chancellor who wrote a letter. Then he has these notes beside it that tells you what this means. And it says here, the text in this part of this verse 4 and 8 through 6 is in Syriac, and the other parts are in Hebrew, and other is in Syriac. And then it says, Bible Introduction, page 817. Well, that's where we just were. Now, why is he doing that? Because you see, he begins here by noticing that those who wrote this letter with all kinds of predictions and so forth in it were writing in a language different than what you find in other parts of this particular book. So some part of it is written in Syriac and some in Hebrew because the people around that time that this was written wouldn't have known that language. So there were several people who were in that area too, and several different tribes in that area. So you see, that's part of the reason for this. It says every Persian governor is covered is accompanied by a province by a royal scribe or secretary who had a separate and independent authority. So the word scribe here is also used. So there's where you get the idea of the Bible being actually put into words. As we said before, much of the Bible was originally in an oral tradition, that is to say, wasn't written down. And then eventually it became written down for specific purposes. And that is what is done here in this section of the Dake annotated reference Bible. And then, of course, the last thing in here, which is probably one of the most interesting things, well, in fact, let me show you this first. This section I was telling you about before, where some of these sections on one side of the page, let me see if I can get this so you can see it a little better. Section on one side of the page, okay, is a timeline. And there you see the timeline right there. But one part of the timeline is circled. Now, if you go to the next page, there's the circled part of the timeline. And there you see great details. If you look at all of that, you see a timeline and what was going on in the world during that time. And then above it, you have over here where you have the small timeline, all these scripture references related to that particular section. And this particular section that I have just opened up to show you says, dispensation of human government, the present age. And then he's got all the scripture references that go with that. So this is after his huge, and I mean huge, dictionary, encyclopedia, reference system in the back, which is just gigantic. Like I say, every word in the Bible is in it. And he'll tell you right exactly where to find them, their first definition, and then he'll take you all the way through the Bible on that one word or idea. So that gives you some concept of what the Dake Reference Bible is, and it is a gigantic work, absolutely incredibly done, over 40 years of work, and just reading that alone is enough to keep you busy for who knows how long, because it is in great detail. More on Dake will follow shortly. Enjoy the rest of your day.